Morning, guys. Welcome to Coffee Chat. Wow, just take a look at all that frost, hey? Unbelievable, really. And in fact, it's actually comforting in a way because February in Canada is one of the coldest months that it gets. And of course, the trees and the ground and everything's all covered with frost and snow and whatever. So in a way, it's kind of a little bit of a down home feeling for me. And I suppose anybody else that's a transplant to Texas from up north would kind of get a little bit of a taste of home. But, you know, it's nice to have for a little while, but you don't want it sticking around. You know, it's kind of like, you know, the relatives at Christmas time, some of the ones that are kind of on the outs, you're like, okay, you can come for dinner, but after that, hey, it's time to go. And so it's kind of like that, little bit of familiarity there. Well, guys, the article that I was reading today, tell you what, it should really give us a lot of pause to think. And this article was actually on journalism itself, and it's coming out of a lot of major journalistic leaders like in CBS and, you know, different newspapers and stuff like that. And what they're calling for is the end of objectivity in journalism, and that is absolutely insane. So objectivity journalism, of course, is someone just reporting the news for what it is and taking, you know, neither side and just reporting what happened and and leaving the conclusions up to the viewer or the reader. Well, of course, now what they're actually, you know, kind of like supporting is what's called advocacy journalism, and that's what they're trying to push in a lot of journalism schools and, you know, classes in the universities and stuff like this. They don't want journalists to be objective anymore. What they want them to be is to actually come out and be biased and have to take a side and, you know, kind of put that out there. Well, guys, if that happens, it's truly you can't even call it journalism anymore. It's the end of journalism. What you're going to have there is just nothing but a bunch of opinions thrown out there. And hey, look, if it's an opinion show, call it an opinion show. But don't call it news, because you're not really reporting the news. You're just reporting someone's opinion. And I get that. Look, hey, when you're on this channel, you're hearing my 100% biased opinion. Make no bones about that. That's absolutely true. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be opinion, you know, shows and opinion pieces. That's fine. You can tell you what your opinion is. I can get to decide whether or not I'm going to actually agree with that opinion, and that's okay. Hey, you don't agree with my opinions, I don't have a problem with that. You just drop it right down in the comments. Let the community hash it out. That's no big deal to me. What I think is ridiculous, though, is that all journalism is going to be based on this advocacy journalism and not objective journalism. And in fact, what was really crazy is one of the quotes in the article had to do with something to the effect that free speech is just a weaponized tool for disinformation. I thought, you have got to be kidding me, to put this idea out there that, hey, having free speech and the ability to even communicate like that and give those things out, that it's just a form of being able to give disinformation. Well, what do you call advocacy journalism? Because that's exactly what you're doing. You're utilizing free speech to give out an opinion. So you're telling me to report objective news is weaponizing free speech and actually providing disinformation? Seems like, you know, these guys just want one narrative, their narrative. They just want the ability to silence everybody else, but only purport what their narrative is when it comes to all these issues, and that no other, you know, opinion or idea or thought or whatever truly holds any water, because while we haven't sanctioned it, you know, the major news media and this and that, we haven't put our stamp of approval on it, so it's got to be misinformation. Absolutely insane, huh? Now, having said that, you think that's kind of a little ludicrous? Well, just take a look what the EU is doing with Twitter and all this social media stuff. If the narrative out there on Twitter, someone wants to post something on Twitter that doesn't fit the standard of the EU's, you know, information narrative or whatever, it's got to be taken down. And Elon Musk is warning people that, hey, this is what you may end up looking at, and that Twitter is going to be so censored, it is going to be crazy. Look, journalists used to decry censorship, and literally were probably the ones that were standing up and saying, no, 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 hey, 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 we've got to get out there and report the facts of what this is and let the reader decide what they think about it. You don't get to censor, you know, all these articles and all this and this in order so it crafts to your narrative and that's it. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, with this whole push for advocacy journalism, you just Google it and find out for yourself. I'm telling you, they're getting away from those kind of journalists, and that is just a real shame, because the next generation that comes up and the one after that, should the whole world survive in Jesus' Terry, I'm telling you, you're looking at just a major de-evolution, whatever you want to call it, you know, destruction of the total idea of what's free speech and what real critical thinking looks like. And boy, oh boy, if we ever needed critical thinking in our lives in any generation, it has definitely got to be this one. And it really is kind of shocking when you think about it. I'll tell you what. And this is where you get all this deplatforming and all this kind of stuff, because they just don't like what you have to say. Doesn't mean that what you have to say is actually not valid. It's just they don't like it. And so we're just going to cut it out of the picture. And if it's not there, well, maybe perhaps people would not even think like that on their own, you know, that kind of stuff. Absolutely crazy, if you ask me. Totally ridiculous. And it's not really, you can't really call it journalism anymore. It's just opinion pieces and columns and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's what we've gotten to. I mean, how many people truly... Take a poll. Guys, how many of you out there truly trust the Fifth Estate? Truly trust the media that you see on TV, whether it be Fox News, CNBC, MSNBC, or any of these newspapers, you know, the Washington Post, you know, the Wall Street Journal, and on, New York, you know, Post and all that. Do you really believe the stuff that you're getting in there is actual news, really just reporting the facts? I don't think many of us do, and many of us are not even getting our news from those sources anymore, which is really telling as well, right? Because we want to get boots on the ground news. The best, actually the best journalists that I have ever seen are the ones that are actually posting stuff on social media that they themselves have personally experienced and actually backing it up. Those are the best ones, if you ask me, because the rest of this stuff, man, it's already been scripted. You know, you get one article out there and literally it's the same article verbatim practically in every newspaper, one news item, and then it's the same news item on every news channel, whatever. We're just being fed, spoon-fed information in a way in which they want to serve it to us. And that's what the Fifth Estate does. It changes people's opinions. There's all kinds of people out there. You know, you ask them what they believe about something, you know, and they don't have a good apologetic. And apologetics basically is, you know, what you believe and why you believe it. And you ask them, well, what do you believe about this and this? And you can literally hear the script coming out of their mouths. And then you ask them to back it up, and then they don't even have the resources to back it up. It's really quite telling, to be sure. Well, guys, there's my soapbox for today. Sometimes, guys, you got to get on a soapbox every now and then. Well, guys, I sure hope you're having a fantastic Thursday. I truly think it's going to turn out to be a great day. And wherever you are in the world and whatever weather you got in the world, I hope you have a fantastic one. And we have a great video coming out later on this afternoon. So until then, guys, take care.